Logan, tell me something.
Listeners, your ears are no longer in pain because Owen's in Spain.
Dahm, that's true. Nice. Nice.
Sorry, I'm
Ooh, welcome into Dahm, that's true. Of course, I'm your host of the most true, Steam Machine Steen. As always, I'm joined by the bomb.
meow.
Logan Reed from twitch.tv/Hannah Learns to Read. Logan, I appreciate you coming on. Owen is in Spain this week. He's in España, so he will not be on the show this week. But we do have Logan on here. I appreciate you coming on. Excited to have you on. I think we're going to talk a little Chiefs Bengals, talk a little gambling,
Absolutely, absolutely.
uh, and I know we'll get off track and talk about plenty of other things along the way.
So had a full band moment there because I've been such an adamant subscriber and listener to Dom. That's true. I was marching in place like I was in band again, trying to pace out the intro song and your thing, and I fucked it up anyway. So sorry, listeners.
You're good. All right, welcome everybody in. Before we get too deep into the episode, I do want to thank the patrons over at patreon.com/open disaster. Shout out Joe, Aaron, Skylar, Dylan, Ozzy, and Mailbox Kansas City. Open now, right now in the Inders. You go down there, Melt Monster, Shake, Cone, all the sorts of things. And then if you're here on YouTube, make sure you're commenting, subscribing. Comment what food Owen is eating in Spain this week. That's what I need. I need a comment of what Owen is probably munching on in Spain. So,
Like a sugar cube.
yes, like oh man. All right. So Logan, you're here. Obviously, we're gonna talk Chiefs Bengals. I mean, you
Very
are.
exciting off seasons.
I guess that's the only other. You're like the Bengals are the only other team that exist in this like podcast realm that we've got in the
Well,
canon of the podcast.
I would say I've just very much enjoyed our content over the years as well. I am a weekly listener to Dom, that's true. So
Mm-hmm.
any opportunity to engage that rolls into my schedule nicely, I'm always happy to be there. It also just so happened to perfectly coincide with the Bengals being like a relevant team in the NFL when our friendship blossomed.
That is true. That
And
is true.
we have kind of carried the winds of friendship from there. Uh, And not for nothing, I think AFC North previews over the last 3 years have been pretty good content. Every
Yeah.
time I go back and watch them for the next one, like I think they're pretty good episodes.
You're like, I can't believe we thought this was gonna happen.
Yeah, gosh, the Browns got me again.
Yeah. I think the owner today admitted they made a mistake signing Deshaun Watson. So that's some amount of progress.
Yeah, that meme with the button that says "fell for it again." That's me picking the Brown season.
Yeah, yeah. Now they've got. Isn't that where Kirk Cousins went? Isn't Kirk or the?
I missed that. If that happened, did that
I,
happen today?
I know Carson Wentz is over there. I thought Kirk Cousins was over there for some reason because he was. Hold on. What is Kirk Cousins up to right now? Kirk Cousins. Oh, he was just in Cleveland. Okay. Apparently, he's either he's probably going to the AFC North. You're probably going to get to see Kirk Cousins play next year. Apparently, it's Steelers or Browns for Kirk
Or
Cousins.
anyone who wants to trade for him?
I think he got dropped, didn't he? Or no, he does have to be traded. You are right.
Yeah, no, his contract's way too big to be cut. The Falcons would be handicapping themselves.
Yeah, and then the Steelers, and then nobody signed Aaron Rodgers yet, which is just a weird.
Aaron Rodgers hasn't chosen his location yet out of his darkness retreat.
Oh, okay. He's got to go into. You can't make me care. You can't make me care about Aaron Rodgers news. I'm.
He the Vikings need to stop playing around and fulfill the prophecy.
I know they said they won't do it, and I'm like, not fair. That's not fair. You got to do it, please, please do it.
It would like time is a flat circle. It would be truly incredible. And unironically, I think would be like a good match.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, kind of right? And it means that we could expect an Aaron Rodgers, like what is it, the dick pic within the next mm, like couple months, right? I don't know the exact timing of the Brett Favre dick pic, but I thought it was pretty close after his time with the Vikings.
See, I am looking forward to the Aaron Rodgers wellness brand and Copper Fit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then 20 years from now, he will uh, embezzle like a bunch of money for poor people from California.
That's what I was gonna
Like
say. Yeah,
nothing
that was
changed.
my next one was defrauding the poverty people, impoverished people in Mississippi. That was gonna be my next Aaron Rodgers step that I was looking forward to for sure. To
Yeah,
open
yeah.
up
No, I'm
a
right there
wellness
with you.
retreat or something. Yeah.
Hmm.
All
It's
right.
the poverty wellness retreat.
Yeah. Like I said, I think we're going to talk about plenty of other things besides the Chiefs and the Bengals this week. But
We might not even get to it.
let's get it started. Let's get on that track. We today are going to talk about who so far, as we stand, what are we, like 3 or 4 weeks away from the draft? Got to be 4 weeks,
Yeah,
right?
that sounds right.
It's probably end of April, probably last weekend of April. Because I
Yeah,
remember,
we're in Green Bay this year, I believe.
yeah, because one of the news breaking NFL reporters posted like a shitty AI photo of the draft at Lambeau, and they're like, you don't have any photos of Lambeau Field that you could have just used for this. They're like, you made a shitty AI photo of the draft
You
instead.
don't want to pay for the licensing rights for a photo that is probably $5.
Right. It's like I'm sure you're employed or somebody, whoever you pays you money, I'm sure could pay for the Lambeau Field picture, but apparently not. So
Yeah.
there was AI photos, but yes, it'll be at Lambeau Field. I think it's like 30. You know what? Now I'm starting to think it's only 3 weeks away. Now I'm thinking it's just over 3 weeks away, but like I
Can we
think
get a
we're
commitment
under
right now
4 weeks.
from uh Dom That's True to go to the draft in Pittsburgh?
Can we you Oh, is that next year?
Yes, I think.
We might be able to do that.
You
Depends
can join us in
depends on what kind of
Morgantown.
sales year. Depends what kind of sales year I have, or how many. I guess if we get if the podcast finally blows up this year, then we can definitely go. So
Yeah, it's definitely going to with this episode.
yeah, this will be the catalyst of it, and then everybody will come back next week. This one will get like 3 million views, and everybody will come back next week and they'll go, wait, where's the other guy? this is and then Owen will really, that would be the very Dom that's true, is that one of us will be gone and then the show will blow up and the people will be mad whenever one of us comes back. So that'll be good.
Blow up like a Tesla dealership. Am I right, chat?
All right. Better off season the Chiefs or the Bengals. Logan, we're gonna break this into 5 different sections. We're gonna do contracts, trades, signings, non-signings, and the verdict of who has had the better offseason so far. I did clarify before we went into it. Contracts is where I'm gonna leave extensions and then re-signings, like because I guess it could get kind of confusing between signings and contracts, but contracts is where we're putting re-signings and extensions. And so
Okay.
obviously this was the big news I think for the Bengals of the offseason. And it's kind of so it's where I wanted to start. Obviously you got 5 done and you got Jamar Chase done.
One.
Yeah, you got 5 and 1 done. What was it? It's 4 years, 115 for T, right? And
It
then it's
is. Sorry, let me get you a specific answer.
oh yeah.
Thanks to the fine people at SpoTrack.
Ooh.
It is 4 years, 115 with outs every single year for dead cuts for the Bengals.
Okay. And then it's for Jamar Chase, it's like 4 years. Is it just 160 or did he get like 164 or like 168 or something weird?
He has a 4 year, $161 million extension with 73.9 guaranteed at signing, with a total guarantee of $112 million. Congratulations, Jamar Chase. Well earned.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It is well earned. I would say Jamar Chase's is for sure well earned. I have concerns about T. Higgins's deal. Obviously,
Okay.
having 3 players committed for the next 4 years at like I can't remember the total number because Joe Burrow got it's 115 and it's 161, so that's 276 just like that, and then I think Joe Burrow's another like 275
$75 million.
million for the next but for the next 4 years I
Well,
guess it'd be minus
one
4
rough.
years 220, so it's
Yeah, so it's
another
right
two.
around there.
So it's like 490 over the next 4 years. Is a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
it is
money
a lot.
for the next 4 years for 3 players.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously costing you elsewhere. We're going to talk about some of the non-signings so far that's going to
Sure.
be coming up, but um, just a weird. I mean, in my concern, I think for T Higgins is that T Higgins has been banged up the last couple of years. He's only
Yes, very
played
much so.
He's only played like 15 or like no, he's only played like 12 games the last 2 years, I think. It was
That
something where I was looking at it and I was like, "Really?" I was like, "That's
he missed 5 games last year,
yeah."
so he played
And he missed the same
12
amount of
games
games the
last
year
year.
before as well.
Yes,
He
he's
played in 12
averaging 12 games
games.
a year.
Yeah, he played in 12 games the last 2 years and I guess he only started 9. I don't know why he didn't start 3 of those games, but so yeah, 12 games the last 2 years. I mean, his first 3
They were
years he
only
was
running him goal line in some of those games.
Oh, okay. His first 3 years, he was pretty healthy. 16 games, 14 games, 16 games. But yeah, the 12 and 12 to then getting paid 4 years, 115, I thought was a touch surprising, to be honest.
So if we're gonna launch into T, because when this got announced, like the initial numbers, as they always do on the internet, got announced, I was ecstatic that it got done. I genuinely could not believe it that it
Mm-hmm.
got done. Uh, but as I told you and Owen over a group chat, I'm interested to see how it got broke down because the only reason, in my opinion, that T. Higgins isn't in that 160 tier is the 12 games over the last 2 years. It has been my
Sure.
opinion for several years now that T. Higgins could be a true X receiver on probably 22 teams in the league,
Right.
somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
if he
it's
truly,
the 12 games and he's never had over 1100 yards in his 5-year career. It's not
yes, there is a lot of nuance to that.
sure. There
Half
is.
of that is Joe being injured,
Yeah. Yep. And the other half is Jamar Chase being
is
there.
Jamar
So,
Chase being there.
yes, I do think he could for sure be a number 1, but at the same time when it comes to that's how the owner's going to negotiate is, hey, listen, sure he could be a number 1 anywhere, but he's never had even 1100 yards, How am I supposed to pay him 160?
Well, are you aware of the nuance of who signed this deal or who represented T?
No, who did represent him?
Okay, so T. Higgins has had the same agent since he left college. And as you might imagine, over the last several years, the negotiations with T. Higgins have broken down, as we have covered ad nauseum. We won't go back into it. Uh, I am certain the agent, who likely gets paid a percentage, was ready for T. Higgins to get 150 plus, which he absolutely would have gotten had he had ridden out the second uh, franchise tag, assuming he didn't have a catastrophic injury, and he ended up at the Titans or the Patriots or someone who's cash rich, who
Sure.
is interested in making a splash play like that.
Yeah, because who
Uh,
did the? Oh, because the Patriots signed Stephon Diggs, which was like, oh, okay, weird.
yeah, he was
All right.
I'm pretty sure the Patriots were lying in wait to try and get T. Higgins
Yeah,
if
probably.
when it broke down.
Mm-hmm.
So several weeks ago. Now I want to emphasize this. This is Twitter reporting, not official reporting by anyone with any credentials.
Well, but you are the journalist on X. That's what I've heard.
Uh, well, that's true. There's nothing is ever wrong on X.
Yeah.
Uh, but T. Joe and Jamar had a come to Jesus meeting like they have for several years of trying to do these negotiations together, even
Right.
when Joe Mixon was still there.
Sure.
And what happened is at the end of that, T and his agent split. He said they T decided that any outcome that which he does not play for the Bengals is not something he wants, even at the expense of his own income. So he fired his agent and he signs with Jamar Chase's agent.
Interesting.
So Jamar Chase's agent says you can have Jamar and T or neither.
Jeez.
Yes. So now he is negotiating on behalf of both of them. And that is also why the deals came out at the same time, is because they were in active flux with each other
Interesting.
when they got signed. So now T is signed long term, which the structure of the salary we'll get into. I'm in absolute love with. Not to say I don't wish the best for T Higgins. I do think he's great. I wish he wasn't injured, but
Right,
that
because
is the
I guess
reality of sports
how much
contracts.
guaranteed is it? We can talk about it.
Sure. T Higgins guarantee at signing is $30 million, and total guaranteed through play is $40.9 million.
So he's really only signed for, to be honest with you, 1 year to kind of
Yes.
one to kind of 2 years, I guess.
So the way the contract breaks out is it has massive uh, playtime bonuses and injury penalties.
Okay.
Because that apparently, I guess, is the sticking point of Bengals ownership, seeing the same thing you're seeing at 12 games a year. So his bonus he gets for every game he plays is a major percentage of his incentive structure. So
Okay.
if he does continue to be injured, the owner is not on the hook for it. Now that is not something that most, I'm going to call T Higgins a star player, I don't think you disagree, would agree with,
Ah,
but the combination of Joe, T, and Jamar is not able to go up anymore in quality, and all three stand to lose if it's broken up. So there is a synergy in keeping the band together.
all three
Uh,
stand to lose, but also all three could go. You could go put Jamar Chase on. A lot of. Let's go put him with C.J. Stroud, with a great defense and also a young up and coming quarterback. He still probably have a pretty good ceiling. Same with T. Higgins could go and be a number one anywhere and go and have and go on and make a team a contender. And the same with Joe Burrow could go and make a team a contender. I mean, you know, it the Bengals haven't won us, no offense there, but the Bengals haven't won a Super Bowl. So it
no offense
can
taken.
get better for any of those three if they went to somewhere where they could go win a Super Bowl and could still put up the numbers that they're putting up.
So this is sort of the false choice of the situation.
Sure.
The the people who are in position to pay T that top market are not in a position to win a Super Bowl.
Right. That is always the flip side of it. Yeah.
Yes. So what? Again, I'm not friends with T Higgins. I don't know T Higgins. But just reading the tea leaves, he, after playing, what would this be? This would be going into his sixth season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to get so close to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, like, there's not a situation in the NFL that will pay as much for T and he will have as much production with, because he already has so much synergy with Joe. They were drafted in the same year. Joe was 1 and T was 33 overall. Like, they have spent their entire professional careers together.
Sure. But
Uh,
also, I mean, again, they drafted themselves into that situation. That's the only reason they've been able to compete with all three of those stars, because now it's going to be a question of, it's what are you paying? You're paying 135 ish, 130 to 140, somewhere in there, which is half the salary, the NFL salary cap to three players now every year. So it's,
yes.
because the NFL salary cap, I just looked up, it's like 272. So you're paying essentially, without having to run all the math on that again, but it's essentially half of the salary cap goes to these three players. And so obviously the question will then become, well, how do you pay everybody else? Because it's like the Chiefs, listen, we do have 30 plus players on our team, and Trey Smith still has to get paid. He's going to get probably less than T. Higgins, but not by much. And Creed Humphrey got 20 million or whatever. And so it's like, it's not necessarily unheard of, but our two $30 million plus players are on opposite sides of the ball. And I do approve of that somewhat, instead of stacking all three in the trio. Because that's right, because that's the flip side, is that everybody's saying that the Bengals are going to have to win games 72-69.
Sure. You can do 29, or was it 2019 Chiefs, basically?
2018 Chiefs.
2018. But, so, this is another classic false choice that sports fans present.
Sure.
The presentation is you are forfeiting the money in the cap that you could spend on the other side of the ball. In order for that premise to be true, there has to be someone of equal or better production available on the other side of the ball at that price point.
Okay.
The free market availability of defensive players this offseason was like Zach Bond, I believe his last name is, and that's pretty much it as far as like elite talent is concerned.
You're kind of joking, right? I mean, you guys are actively not paying your NFL sack leader for the last 3 years right now. I mean, because
he's not a free agent.
He's not a free agent yet. He'll force his way out.
But
he'll sit. He just won't play.
So again, this is a false choice because the defense is bad. Like there's no point paying for an elite defensive player if the defense is bad anyway. That puts you in a TJ Watt situation with the Steelers. Like you're paying for stats but not outcomes. So it's a false
the Steelers defense
presentation.
That is a good defense, though.
It is not a good defense. It's the most expensive defense, but it's not a good defense.
Is it the most expensive defense?
It is well, last year it was the most expensive defense.
Was it really?
In the NFL?
Who else were they paying on that defense that made it?
Patrick Queen. I'll pull it up right now. That's the power of the internet.
I forgot about Patrick Queen.
Yep, they signed some big defensive free agents that they didn't sign. Star-studded wide receivers, as we've dictated.
Nick Bolton did get signed, and we talked about it on the show about, there's 4 middle linebackers that are making more than Nick Bolton, and I don't think he's anywhere in the conversation with those 4, and I'm not sure he's in the conversation with the 4 that are after him either. So it's like, I don't know.
All right, here's your 2025 cap hit for the Steelers. TJ Watt at $30 million. This is his last year. Minkah Fitzpatrick at $22.3 million. Cameron Hayward at 19.6. Alex Highsmith at 18.6. Patrick Queen at 17.6. Pat Freiermuth, so you finally get an offensive player, at 12.8. DK Metcalf, who they just traded for, at 11, and just signed a big extension, but that doesn't kick in until next year. They have a guard that I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that name at 10.1. Darius Slay, they picked off the street for $10 million.
Right. And
then Jalen Warren. So of the top 10 players they're paying, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 10 are on defense, and all of those are 7-figure salaries.
Yeah.
And you get 9 and 8. That's what you get.
You get what?
9 and 8.
Yeah, but the offense, just saying 9 and 8. It's not like the whole offense was the offense was incredible and the defense was letting them down. That offense fell apart down the stretch. Russ forgot how to cook, as he so often does.
Yes, but they were they had some really hot games against bad teams last year. The Steelers defense does, but as a net, everything it doesn't scream most expensive defense in football. You're not getting the elite.
A top 10 defense in points allowed. A top 11 defense in yards allowed. It's not a bad defense. You're saying it like it's not
Sure.
a top half defense. It's a top 10 defense probably.
And that'll get you 9-8.
Sure.
But that's not what they're paying for, is the point. So if you're
Right.
going up in this tax bracket to get defensive players, and you are not in that top 6+ range, like
Right.
they're basically antithetical to each other. The Bengals trio versus a super expensive defense across the board. And not for nothing, but Joe has torched this defense quite a few times.
But it also doesn't have to be a super expensive defense across the board for the Bengals. You could have one good defender at $30 million, like the Chiefs do, and end up, instead of having, you do have a bottom 7 defense, but
Yes.
you build around a piece. You draft one, you have one piece, and you build around it. The Chiefs that's how the Chiefs did. The Chiefs had a terrible defense. They went out, they got Tyrann Mathieu, they got Frank Clark, and they drafted around it. Now you have pieces like George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie, but Frank Clark and Tyrann Mathieu are who won the Chiefs their first Super Bowl. And then we were able to hold off this torch, and now we have younger players with Brian Cook at safety and Jaden Hicks at safety. We just, we're losing oh my gosh, Justin Reed. I couldn't remember the J name. Justin Reed is leaving, and George Karlaftis is now on that line, and Chris Jones is now the anchor on that defensive line. But that's I don't think the answer. I don't see how the answer is letting Trey Hendrickson Trey Hendrickson.
Yes, Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, I both of him and was it Sam Hubbard? Was that the other defense?
Sam Hubbard retired this offseason.
Yeah, but like both of those guys, their names were always, I think, like I was never 100% confident I was getting it right. But like those guys, I don't think letting Trey Hendrickson, you're probably asking for a trade and saying, we'll explore a trade, all this stuff. I don't think that's the answer to sign T. Higgins instead. I don't think
I
letting your
would
one player that's been good on defense walk is the answer to paying the guy who hasn't played more than 12 games the last 2 years.
That is actually totally emblematic to what I said earlier. That is a false choice that you're presenting to the audience. You could keep this really expensive player and let T. Higgins walk, but keeping the expensive player does nothing for you as far as defensive productivity is concerned because the rest of the team is so bad. And I'm so happy you brought up that you can draft around your best piece because the Bengals have tried to do that for the last 3 years.
Right.
We let Jesse Bates walk. We have drafted on
Sure.
defense so much because our offense was so great. And they are not a good unit. They got Lou Anarumo, our DC, fired. They got cooked left and right, all on rookie contracts. You could maybe say they're not being coached up right. Bengals infrastructure sucks. Those are all totally valid criticisms.
Right.
But the strategy you have laid out is what the Bengals front office has done since the AFC Championship game that we beat the Chiefs in. And it has failed in every aspect. So now it's payday for Trey Hendrickson.
Mm-hmm.
You can basically start at 0 again and have that cap room, or pay Trey Hendrickson for basically a participation trophy because the defense will still be bad because we are not drafting 7 rookie defenders and we're going to be a top 6 unit.
Sure.
Like that solution doesn't exist for this upcoming year.
Right.
And you stand to lose T. Higgins, who is a known quantity and is probably the most liked person in the locker room. And has produced every time he's on the field.
Trey
And
Hendrickson is also a known quantity, though. He's still. I don't see how the answer is. Listen, I guess I see what you're saying is that we can't keep doing the same thing on defense and expecting it to work. But I don't think the answer is, well, we were a bottom 7 unit, so let's get rid of the one productive player on it because what is a bottom? I think there's also your false. That's a false choice, right? Is that it can't get that much worse. It can get a lot worse. You can have the 32nd ranked defense that's 50 points worse than everybody else also.
Sure, but that is the same outcome for the team.
Why is that the same outcome as having the seventh ranked defense, the seventh worst ranked defense?
If you don't make the playoffs at 9 wins and you don't make the playoffs at 4 wins, it is the
Sure,
same outcome.
that is the
There's
same.
no difference in outcome.
Right, it is a worse draft pick, but I don't think there's a successful path forward signing the three offensive guys. I think keeping two of them and signing your one defensive guy that you can build around, having the two guys that you can certainly build around, and then
Here's
instead of
the
it,
fundamental problem with the Trey Hendrickson is Trey Hendrickson's 31 years old.
sure,
You are also betting that he is going to repeat as sack leader through the time of his extension because we have him under contract for this year. He could hold out and do all the things people do for money, which, from his perspective, I totally understand. He has an opportunity for a massive payday that, in all statistical likelihood, he will never get again. So I totally understand his position if he holds out and wants trades and do all that.
sure.
But to get him at the price point that his production warrants means you're going to have to extend him probably 3 years, and you are probably talking within $15 million of Myles Garrett is what
I
someone would pay for him.
I think his
And
deal would look closer to Chris Jones' deal. I think Chris Jones' deal was like 3 years, 96. It's probably 3 years, 96. It's probably not 3 years, 120. It's probably not 4 years,
I
115.
bet you the Patriots or someone like that would think about it. And again, this is his year 31. At the end of this contract, he'll be 34.
Right.
In this hypothetical we're presenting. So, is it better to cut bait and get some value back as a trade right now and hedge against that? That is my assessment, depending on what trade comes towards the Bengals. Like, if it's just a 7, you're probably more valuable having him play out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's all the numbers. And no one's actually gone on the record and say, we will give the Bengals X trade compensation. Like,
Right.
if there was a trade that involved maybe no picks, but involved like a linebacker or a safety that's like a middle of the road guy, that would also be permissible.
I don't think
That
that's
sort
what.
of.
I think your trade ends up looking like what the Chiefs got for L'Jarius Sneed, which is maybe a third round pick or a fourth
I
round
would
pick.
be over the moon for a third round pick. I would sign that tomorrow.
Right, because they still have to give him the deal. I mean, that's the Chiefs were like, well, which honestly, luckily we trade him to the Titans, so our third round pick is like the first third
Very
round pick.
high.
So we basically
Yeah.
got a second round pick anyway, so it doesn't matter. But we got to
Like if
drop.
the Jets want Trey Hendrickson, oh, we'll sign that immediately.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because that's. I mean, we're at the see. We traded for a next year pick, which helped because they were like, well, we're gonna win with L'Jarius Sneed, so that'll be no problem. When it's a
I
known
believe the Titans
quantity,
defense was pretty good last year.
yeah. But when L'Jarius Sneed was not the reason why, but when it was, but when it's a known quantity, it's a lot harder to get that third round pick. That's basically a second round pick. It's more likely you're going to get the fourth round pick. That's more like a third round pick because it's a known quantity.
Yeah, if someone offered a 3 for Trey Hendrickson, regardless of the team, unless it was probably an AFC North team, unless it was the Browns, or because like if you're trading for Trey Hendrickson, this is a win the Super Bowl this year move.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yes.
the Chiefs don't have any room for him. I don't think I'd want him. He just doesn't fit in really, but
No. Like,
um, doesn't fit in with what we're trying to do.
and you'd basically do what they did for Von Miller in the Bills. Like you're paying him this massive salary in the back end in the hopes to win in the
Right,
first or second year of the contract.
for no reason. It's just not where we're at right now with our team. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I
Uh,
can't I can't imagine this is you're of the mind that everything they've done contract wise is exactly what you would have wanted them to do. I guess essentially.
yes. Now I am my the day that these contracts got announced, I had a little bit of reservation because I wanted to see what T's like the details of what T's look like first.
Right.
But now that I have confirmation that it is not injury forgiven, but like team friendly in the face of his injury history, like this is probably the best day of my life
I mean, it's
as
really
a
only two
total, as a
years
Bengals fan.
guaranteed, to be honest. I mean,
Yes.
So
Yes, and he more than deserves the money production wise and culture wise, and isn't speeding cars through Dallas and
yeah,
anything you could want.
yeah.
So
Winning
I'm
Super
over the moon.
Bowls, yes, yeah. I wouldn't, yeah. He's not doing any of those things. But uh,
Not yet.
yeah, yeah, right. Well, not on these deals. I mean, I
No.
don't.
See, here's the problem. The Bengals fans immediately went from Bungles fans to expecting to win a Super Bowl every year, and that is not how life works.
Right, right,
No. As you remember from my AFC, we actually exceeded my prediction by 2 wins. And I would say those were flukes because we deserved to lose that Giants game.
right.
And like I set my expectations of where I actually think the roster construction and coaching talent says it has, and it has never let me down in the 3 years I've done these predictions for the Bengals. I think I've been
Yeah,
within one every time,
sure, sure.
barring injury. Uh, so the goal, like the contractual goal, as I see it, as these get signed, is to start from scratch, depending on the price that Trey Hendrickson wants. Around the defense and the rest of the offense. Because the Bengals, the other thing they drafted a lot of, other than these cornerbacks, were wide receivers. Because it was 100% the Bengals' plan to replace Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins as their contracts expired, because that's how they have always operated. But
Right,
we got to see what life was like without T. Higgins in the offense for 5 games this year. And it was still a better than average offense, but it was such a precipitous fall replacing T. Higgins in the offense with Mike Gesicki in those wide formations.
right,
And it was so tangible that it is forcing the office's hand to sign. And I like Yoshivas, but he has not developed into a T. Higgins production replacement yet.
no,
And
sure.
random white guy here, like the
White
the fall
guy.
off between
Yeah.
not signing T. Higgins and whoever's going to take his place, whether that be through the draft or one of the people we've been developing here, is not going to have enough firepower to offset our horrible
Well,
defense
where
to
do you
even
guys
have a
finish on?
shot at winning.
Where's your pick this year in the draft?
We are in the dead center, I believe, because we won too many games to have a good pick, but not enough to get in the playoffs, which is exactly what you hope for at the beginning of the year, which is why I was hoping for 7 and not 9. Draft order 2025. And we also never trade up or down as far as I can ever remember.
Right.
So we are 17th. So one
17th.
below the halfway point.
Listen, you know this show. Big fan of Luther Burden. You could have
Yes,
certainly.
I've heard many things about Luther Burton over the last several weeks.
I think you could have let T. Higgins walk, draft Luther Burden at 17, and gotten 70 to 75% of T. Higgins, at least.
So here's the thing 75% of T. Higgins is such a big difference because of how good T. Higgins is.
Well, to be fair, T. Higgins only plays 75% of the year, anyways. That's something to also consider right now.
You cannot.
That you only get 75% of
Or
T. Higgins as is for the last 2 years.
75% of T. Higgins is still better than every other option.
I, I can't. I just can't imagine it is. I can't imagine drafting a
Let
top
me put
20.
this into perspective for you. At 75% of T. Higgins, we have a triple crown winner on the other side. This is the most productive passing offense, probably of all time. It's definitely top 5. Like, just switching half of those targets over to Chase, like that 25% drop from T, probably 15% of it's just made up in Jamar's production.
Sure.
So, and we signed him, so all good. Is it still a drop? Is it noticeable when he's not out there? Yes. It's still better than, pretty much every fan team that's listening to this podcast.
I'd still probably take Luther Burden and just for $30 million less. I
You
think
know
I
what?
could.
For how many times you've said Luther Burton over the last 3 weeks, maybe I should do an entire draft breakdown on my channel of Luther Burton because I
That'd be
still don't
fun.
know who Luther Burton is.
Oh
So
my!
I'm.
You gotta watch him.
Maybe I really should do a
It's
full
like
thing.
watching T Higgins, man. It's no. Oh
how
no no.
how tall is he? 6'4" with a wingspan of like a condor.
I think you wouldn't be shocked that Luther Burden's like pretty much the same height. Luther Burden and
No,
Luther Burden.
here's the thing.
Oh, Luther
There's
Burden's
a
5'11". I'm
heart
wrong.
pick.
I
There's
thought
the
he fell
heart pick
taller.
at 17, and there's the mind pick at 17. There's only one player I want at 17. And we're not going to pick him, and it makes me so depressed, but it's just the reality. So I'm trying to open my mind and my soul to accept
Who's the
whoever it
pick?
is. I want Ashton Genty so bad.
I don't think he falls to 17.
Really? You think he'll go higher?
Yeah, I think he's a top 10
Who
pick.
his talent certainly justifies that, but I think this is the same thing with the Jahmyr Gibbs and the Lions, where everyone above the Bengals. Because I looked through I'm looking at the draft order again right now. It's like
Right.
who really needs a running back ahead of us, and the only one that really jumps out to me is the Cowboys. And I don't think they'd go running back at
Oh, that
12.
sounds exactly like Jerry Jones. What Jerry Jones would do is go running back in the first round. Yes, yes, that's
See,
exactly.
hearing you say it is talking me into it,
Yeah,
but like they're
Jerry doing the oldest guy move possible. Absolutely, yeah.
see now that you've said it out loud, I have now convinced myself that that is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not out of the realm of imagination that he could be there at 17 if
Listen,
people decide that running back value is not there. I don't think there's a defender
He's
in
fallen
this
to pick 32 for the Chiefs. I think so. That's I mean,
31.
oh, that's right. Sorry, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
old
yeah. You
habits.
know,
Old habits. That's my bad.
yeah, 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 yeah. I don't think at 17 there will be a defender on the board that will flip the fortunes of the Bengals. And very seldomly at 17 do you have hypothetically a prospect that elite sitting there who's just kind of there as a result of position. Our running back situation is one of those fantasy situations where you look at the points they score every week and you're like, wow, this is a really good running back. But I watch most of the Bengals games and he just, or they, I guess, the tandem of them cannot run between the tackles to save their life.
Yeah.
And that is not a recipe for success in football at all.
And
Like
to be
we
fair,
lost
I figured you guys with
uh,
pick 17 would be drafting between the tackles, anyways, wouldn't you?
I don't think this is one of those drafts, at least from the punditry that I've heard, that's really deep in O line, but no elite prospects. Like the LSU guy, I think is considered the best prospect, but even they're
Yeah.
hitting him with the short arm allegations.
There's like a big there's a
So
guard. There's a big guard from somewhere, maybe an Iowa guard or something. There's always an Iowa
would
guard you can go
would
grab.
I be sad if we drafted a guard 17? Absolutely not. That would be great. But that's what my heart wants. In my mind, one of the most productive offenses of all time would be Joe T, Jamar, and Ashton Genty. And perhaps maybe you can blitzkrieg people to be competitive.
Everybody would make fun of you if you drafted a running back with all the things going on with the Bengals right now. If you drafted a running back in the first round, everybody would make fun of you.
I don't care. People have made fun of me for being a Bengals fan this entire time.
Well,
I
that's
believe that would be the most productive path to put us to win the Super Bowl is to get Ashton Genty if he's there at 17.
yeah.
He's also, despite his size, a pretty decent blocker too, which he needs because our offensive line is terrible.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I guess is there any other were there any other big signings for the Bengals outside of that? I felt like just those three really were the big ones.
So they make me sad. uh, I because we went in this order, I don't get to do my joke. Where I was gonna have like the weights of justice here. And I was like, Bengals fans, get T. Higgins and Jamar Chase on long-term contracts, but we also signed Cody Ford again on the other side,
Right.
which as that came out 2 days before. I think I tweeted about it too. When that came out 2 days before Jamar and T came out, and I was like, "This is truly the worst parallel universe that could ever happen." If Cody Ford makes me genuinely want to switch fandoms watching him play football.
What is Cody Ford? Who is Cody Ford?
He is the other guard that we
Oh,
kept and extended. We cut Alex Kappa, who was our really expensive offensive lineman and
who
was
was bad?
dead last in the league. Yes, he
Yeah.
was horrible. It was one of the historically worst guard tandems ever put forth on a football field.
And he still re-signed one of them, man. Because
Yes,
guards, you can find good guards round. You could find 2 starting guards in rounds 2 and 3.
yes, you can, which is why I'm so not happy about it.
Yeah. Well, uh, and that was the
But
other.
it is what it is. Mike Gesicki extended 3 years. That's
Okay.
a
Fine.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
He had some moments this year.
We've got a couple of those
I,
on this list for us too.
yep. Releasing Alex Kappa is great. Very happy that happened.
Well, we'll get there for the non-signings here coming up.
Oh, sorry. Going out of order now.
No, you're.
Bad,
Well, I can tell you,
bad guess.
the Chiefs. The biggest one is the biggest deal, honestly, that we signed was Nick Bolton, 3 years, $45 million, an overpay to keep, I think, a kind of unathletic middle linebacker, but to pay him top 5 money is a little bit not my favorite thing in the world.
But by your reasoning, the Bengals should have paid him top 3 money, and that will improve the
It's
team.
not, it's not true. That's not true. He's not the top paid player. He's not the only bright spot on our defense. He's but
Yeah, but he would be under your plan. That is the kind of talent we would bring in and pay top dollar to fix the defense that you laid out earlier.
yeah, you guys would probably sign Nick Bolton would be about in that realm. Yeah. Is maybe you
Yeah,
let
and that would fix all of our problems for sure.
no, but it would make your middle. Listen, he's not a top 5, but he's probably a top 10 to top 15 linebacker. It's good.
Great.
3
Mm-hmm.
years, 15. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to
Yeah, we're
overpay.
only giving up 5 yards a rod now.
Yeah, but I mean, but he'll be, sure,
I,
whatever. But Nick
I
Bolton,
deeply apologize. My cat is destroying my streaming setup because he's not getting a treat like he
yep.
normally does when I'm streaming.
I
Sorry.
saw him come over to you.
He's not happy.
No. Uh, and then so Nick Bolton was the big one. We franchise tagged Trey Smith, which is fine. It's the Chiefs again. We'll talk about trades coming up. We let one of our guards go, and we kept the other one instead, who hadn't been signed to a deal yet. We traded the one that was already on a deal. So I think that's saying, okay, we're going to pay the younger guy, which I think is fine. Hopefully they'll get a deal because the guard, but I mean, he's going to reset the guard market, which is, you can't keep signing people to reset the market as the Chiefs have done. We reset the defensive tackle market. We reset the quarterback market. We reset the center market. We just keep resetting the markets. Not my favorite thing that we do. We're going to
Well,
have
not
to,
for nothing, but there's a lot of production that came with that as well, so it's hard to
right.
bitch about it now.
Yeah, the issue, the reason you have to keep resetting these markets is you keep drafting top players at these positions. We're going to have to reset the market when we want to sign Trent McDuffie. Sure. Nice. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We had to reset the market because we have the best, one of the top 3 centers in the game with Creed Humphrey. Trey Smith is one of the top 5 young guards in the game. He's going to reset the market. That's it. It's champagne problems. It's suffering from success. And
Yes,
so,
very much so.
and luckily you got to you restructured Mahomes and Chris Jones. That saved $49 million of cap, $49.5 million of cap space, which the cap space in the NFL is such you can just make up things, which it's so funny. But also Mahomes' deal is still like 10 years. So it's like,
Yes.
which I guess we've only probably
It's by
got,
far the best contract in the NFL.
yeah. And we've maybe got 6 years left of it still, or 5 years. I don't even know how many, it's one
Is
of those
it
where you're like,
really?
well, it's it's one of those where it feels like he's probably got. It feels like he still has 9 on it, but I think he's probably only got like 6 left on it. It might be
Yeah,
like,
only 6 more years.
yeah, a year. A year or two after he goes pro.
2032 is his free agency year.
2032, man. And
Yeah.
which means he's getting another 10 years in 2030. He's going to be here till 2040. My son, my children will watch Patrick Mahomes play quarterback for Kansas City. I'm almost positive of it. So, but not that that's no announcement. That's how long he's going to be
I
here.
wasn't gonna say anything.
Is that he'll be here until in the next 5 years or 6 years down the line when we are probably aiming to have kids. That then when they're 8 or 9, they'll see Patrick Mahomes play football. Totally off topic.
Can you clip this and send it to Tina
I
to say whenever there is an announcement, say we can't wait to watch Patrick Mahomes play football for their 5th birthday?
yeah. Oh yes, somebody. I'll have to clip it. Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt signed back. That's fine. 2.5 mil. Mike Pennell, a defensive tackle. That's fine. Hollywood Brown's
I
coming
actually
back.
thought that was your best signing this offseason was the Kareem Hunt coming back. I think that's a tremendous value for how much you're paying.
Yeah, I think he was great for what he was. Honestly, I was fine with that. I kind of want them to draft a running back. Listen, this is your last year of Isaiah Pacheco. I think you probably got one more year, or and then it's so you're probably drafting a running back. You could draft a running back, like because I always want the K-State running back, so I want DJ Giddens in the 5th or 6th round this year would be awesome. I think he'd be a great running back to have to
I'm
pair
pretty
with
sure he
Elijah
ran a
Mitchell.
party on WVU if I recall correctly.
Yeah, fucking yeah. Just dick slap some teams. Just
For sure.
insane second level cups. Just never had the top end speed, but then he did have a great 40 time at the combine, which was crazy to me. But other side of the point, we brought back Charles Manhue. We brought back a lot of players where it was like, damn, we're losing a lot of these guys. We're gonna have to fill in these gaps. And then they brought back a lot of these players on 1-year deals where it's like, oh, okay. It was like it's like we don't need to. It was like, okay, we're gonna have to draft this position and that position and this position, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, never mind, we don't have to draft those because those guys are. We just brought back enough guys where we don't have any immediate needs that we're drafting now.
Well, wouldn't you just draft for the future if it's all 1-year deals and let all these guys sit?
Right. Yes, but there's no immediate ones where you're like, oh, if we don't like last year, it was okay. We have to draft a left tackle. If we don't hit on a left tackle, we're fucked. And you know what we did? We drafted a left tackle and we didn't hit on him, so we were fucked. And that's what happened. That's why we
Is
lost the
that
Super
really
Bowl.
fair for a rookie of the NFL to be decided that you didn't hit on it that quick?
No, but I mean, he didn't hit last year. You know, we needed.
Who what like Joe Alt, I guess, in recent memory.
Well, you put him
But
next
that
to
was
an
a top
all-pro
5 pick.
guard and an all-pro center and another all-pro guard and a pretty good other tackle. It's like, can you be a league average to like? Can you be left tackle number 20? And a lot of the times he was playing like left tackle number 31, in the league, and it's like,
Sure. And left tackles playing against usually the best pass rusher on the other
sure,
team.
sure, I do agree, but
I guess that's
again,
why you're getting paid, but
there are
I don't
rookie left tackles other than Joe Alt who probably played worse than he did this year, and that's I think the frustrating part for what we were looking at. But
you
and
guys
I
were
think
looking for gold. You could smell a three-peat, and that is why it hurts so bad.
right is because we went 15-1 with our starters and went to the Super Bowl, and then because we have a left guard at playing left tackle, I think is a large part why a lot of the wheels fell off in that Super Bowl. I think the Eagles defensive line went, "Oh, hey, he's a left guard, right?" And then they just fucking bull rushed him and and did all these things, and it was like, "Oh yeah, because he's a guard playing tackle, we can expose that," and they absolutely did. And then Mahomes was double clutching throws and doing what Mahomes does when he starts to get totally out of sync and just looks awful. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's I guess a lot of our contracts. We're just bringing back a lot of the guys from last year to be like, all right, come back in for another year. Let's see what we can do. Let's talk trades. Did you guys do any trades yet? Have you done any big trades?
Trading and the Bengals do not go together.
No.
The Bengals. Hold on. I genuinely cannot remember the last player we traded for at all. And I've been playing. I couldn't tell you the last person we traded for. Bengals trade history. Let me see what Google.
Are you the guys that don't have a
Oh,
GM also?
that would be the Packers.
No. There's somebody who doesn't have a GM. They have like a fake, like it's like their player, the director of player personnel is the GM. It's not even a real GM.
The Packers, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's somebody who's bad at signing players. It's somebody where you hear it and you're like, that makes sense. Hold on, I've got to look this up. But sorry, keep going.
Sorry, I'm pulling up Spo Track again. Trades.
No, it's the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, you guys don't have an official general manager.
Oh, well, we have the smallest scouting department in the entire league. Like, our front office is a joke.
Right, but you guys have like you have a guy that's been essentially kind of the general manager for like a while, but it's not really. He's been like that in that role since 1998, but it's like director of player personnel.
Okay, I pulled up our trade history for the last 6 years. I already forgot we did have a trade this year. We got Khalil Herbert from Chicago at the end of the trade deadline for a 7th round pick. Great. I think
Ooh.
he did like 30 snaps.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
Duke Tobin. Sorry, that's who your guys' fake GM is. Duke Tobin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Shout out to Duke getting this deal done with wide receivers. Proud of you, Duke.
sure. Maybe.
We traded some picks with the Bills to get Cam Taylor Britt, it looks like. Uh we traded BJ Hill to the New York Giants in 2021 for Billy Price, who was a terrible offensive lineman.
Hey, at least Cam Taylor Britt invented Burrowhead. At least you guys have that. That's really good for you guys.
That's fair. You know what? That is a fair counterpoint.
That's his
So
lasting contribution to the Bengals is crafting Burrowhead after the year after you guys beat us in the playoffs. Not the
I
year that
think
you
we can
guys were going
all
on to
sit
beat
here
us.
as adults and say Burrowhead is funny,
Yes.
but I've already stated my position on this. At a win ratio at less than 3, you cannot give nicknames. Giving nicknames to places is a rarefied air in sports
Mm-hmm.
that should be treasured. LeBronto, all time.
LeBronto. Yes.
Like,
He owned
we,
Toronto. Yes.
yes, we, we need to increase the ratio of winning at Arrowhead in order. Like, even if we won the next 2, I still would be happy flipping it back to Burrowhead.
Right. In the
If we won 3
playoffs.
or 4
You
straight,
have to do it because the Bills have won at Arrowhead like 3 or 4 times. And nobody's ever being like, this is Josh Allen's house. This is the house that Josh made. It's like nobody ever says that because they've gone in there in the playoffs and they lose. They've lost 2 or 3 times, and everybody goes, okay, never mind. Whatever, Josh.
I mean, it's fun wordplay too. I don't know what you do with
It is fun
it.
wordplay. That is true.
It's
Yeah.
fun. We're having fun.
Allenhead, though, is right there too. I mean, that's not too far
Uh,
off. Allenhead
well,
is fun. I mean,
you know what? I think you just sold me on Allenhead if it ever happened. It does
it
sound
does.
good.
That's the next one. That's the next one for sure. So you guys have
I
had no
guess we
trades.
don't have time to get into the Mickey Mouse MVP, or we save that for another day.
We are running a little short. We talked about we talk we are almost at an hour and
I'm
we
so
really
sorry.
only
I
talked
do
about
this
the
every
Bengals.
time.
I know. No, and I do too. And so we might have to save the Mickey Mouse MVP. Listen, it's a long off season. We've got plenty of time to have you on here and talk shit on
I'm
Josh
happy
Allen
to.
for an hour and a half. Yeah.
I will absolutely do that. But if I'm
Especially
going to
once
do that, Chris also needs to be here.
Owen's back here and would love to talk on Josh Allen. I know that, but I know he'll also always say Lamar B.
That's got to be racist.
So and he does love he loves a white guy. I mean,
White
listen,
guy.
I can do all these. I can say all these things about Owen because he's not here. So there's just a lot of things I get to throw at that wall. You know, like
Sure.
here, I can use soundboard. We can pretend like he's here. Owen, would you say that you only really like white quarterbacks?
100%.
Oh, that's crazy. 100%, really? Huh? But your general feelings about white guys? White guy, yeah. Ah, man, that's crazy. Huh? It's a little. It's got me feeling. Oh, I feel a little weird right now. A little weird, but you know that's so. Owen, we've got all of Owen's opinions about white quarterbacks, black quarterbacks now, and it's on tape for the show. But
Yeah,
so
and we should definitely forward that to his employer as well. I think they should be informed of this.
100%.
yeah, 100%. And we'll have to do that, and then. But so having you back on when Owen's here to talk, I think he'd still like to talk shit on Josh Allen. So I think that'll be a good one in the future. But so trade wise, I mean the Chiefs obviously we traded away our starting left guard. The only downs it's a trade where you go, I see why you did it. I think everybody was like, that's fine, but we got a 4th-round pick next year. It wasn't even a 4th-round pick this year. Everybody's like, I don't know about that. I don't love that it's next year's 4th-round pick. But
Can I bring up the contradiction of what you just said?
sure.
What you did at guard with the trade with Chicago is basically the exact same premise I just offered about Trey Hendrickson, which you then shit on and then said it was all right that the Chiefs did it.
Well, here's the thing. Joe Tooney is, I think, 3 years older than him.
Yes.
He would be the age at the end of Trey Hendrickson's extension that you need to give him, essentially.
Yes.
And so I think that's a fairly big difference. Also, he won 2 Super Bowls here. So we have to keep this Super Bowl train moving. You guys need to win your first Super Bowl, and then you get to worry about how you keep the Super Bowl train moving. You'll get there maybe one day, and then you'll know what it's like. But it's for us, it's no, just but
No. No, it's all good. Listen, winning the Super Bowl, if it ever happens, would be truly fantastic. But there's nothing that would be sweeter than hopping in my Ford Ranger, driving down that interstate way too fast to get to your house for the next podcast episode. Stopping in Cincinnati, picking up Chase. I will soak my britches in champagne on that couch.
we'd have to just
There's nothing
move
y'all can do about it.
And we cover everything in plastic.
That's fine. Do what you
It
got to
looked like a
do
murder
because
scene.
it's getting popped. It is hitting the ceiling.
It looked like we're about to get whacked.
Have you seen that gif of the guy with the Mentos and Coke with soap in it in the big water jug in his kitchen?
Yes.
That'll be me in
That'd
your
be
basement.
all over. Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I don't the Joe Tooney trade for the Chiefs. It's just like it's one of those things. I think also with everything that happened with us moving out to left tackle and losing the Super Bowl, I think it was like one of those where you just kind of wash your mouth of it all. You wash your hands of it all. You go. I don't necessarily agree that. I don't think they blame him at all, and I don't think anybody is like it's because Joe Tooney's bad. We all know why it happened, but it's like it was one of those where it's like let's all just get younger. Let Joe go anchor another offensive line. You know, and I bet Chicago's calling and like, hey, we want to rebuild our offensive line and build it around that guy. And we're like, that's fine. We need to pay our right guard anyways. So it's fine. It's just
Yeah,
it's a little sad, but
it's one of the most balanced trades I think I've ever seen. I understand the perspective from both sides, and you can't be mad either way.
if it would have been a 4th this year, I think I would have been like, just right. But it being a 4th next year, I'm like, I feel like a little like we could have got more, but not like that much more.
Well, don't the Bears have no picks because they traded them all for DJ Moore and all the other receivers
I'm sure.
as well?
Well, no, they got a bunch of picks for DJ Moore, and then they traded some of those picks away to get. No, I guess they got Caleb Williams without picks because that was the Panthers pick that they had been traded. So because they got
Yes.
DJ Moore and the Panthers pick and another pick, so that the Panthers could draft Bryce Young.
Great front office ship right there.
Yeah, no joke. Let's talk signings. You guys bring in anybody new that you're excited about?
new that I'm excited about. Samaje P. Ryan returns to the fold.
I know. I saw it.
Happy
We'll
to
see.
have him back. You know, little glue guy.
Mhm.
You know, model citizen, runs hard. After watching the complete apathy that our running backs have had in the last, or yeah, basically since Joe Mixon left between the tackles, he wasn't that great between the tackles anyway. But like
Yeah.
watching the fall off is just depressing.
Hey, real quick,
So
I've got
just
Chase
having
Brown. I've got Chase Brown in a keeper league. Should I keep him?
is it a PPR league?
Yes.
If they don't draft at running back in the first round, which they probably won't, then yes, because he's a great fantasy player.
Yes.
Because he gets a lot of catches and yards after catch, but he cannot break tackles and he cannot run between the tackles. And he's Joe Burrow's dump off point. He runs flares or wheels every single time because he can't block or run between the tackles. So he's a great fantasy player.
That is true. Very
Honestly,
solid.
he's Joe Mixon light. You look at Joe Mixon's fantasy numbers, and you're like, man, this is like one of the best running backs in the whole NFL. He had 5 touchdowns versus the Panthers,
That's true.
but
That's true.
he's just a worse version of that, which is why I want Ashton Genty so bad at 17 if he was there. But now that I hear it come out of someone else's voice that the Cowboys are going to take him, now like I've accepted that he's not going to be there.
Yeah, I can already
So.
imagine him with the star on the side of his helmet. It's
What do you think the sports betting odds of Ashton Genty being drafted by the Cowboys is right now?
plus 185.
Oh, wow, that's really low.
Sorry, did I? Yeah, I guess that's really. It's hard to. I guess what are the Cowboys picking at?
They are picking at.
Did you have the odds up, or were you just asking me?
I was trying to give you a segue into sports betting since you mentioned it earlier and be a good guest.
Oh.
But I was also genuinely curious since you had made the point what kind of money you would put on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, trying to be good podcast temporary host.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, we have a couple things, and then we've got to do a verdict on whether or not the Chiefs or the Bengals had the better offseason so far.
Okay. The Cowboys are picking 12.
Yeah, that's perfect pick for Ashton Genty. I wouldn't be shocked if they're the lowest betting odds for Ashton Genty's like next team. If those are odds that can be pulled, I would bet they're probably in the running for that. But I don't know if it's probably not 180 plus 185. I doubt anybody. Obviously the first overall pick is Cam Ward might be minus 150 right now to be the first pick, but nobody even knows then.
Yeah, sure.
Plus
Draft
185
day
is probably way too low for Ashton Genty to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was like, damn, that's like nothing.
That's how confident I am in them.
You heard it first here on Dahm, that's true. Bet a mortgage payment on Ashton Genty to the Cowboys.
That's right. Mortgage. Bet the house,
This
and then
is
you can have 2
financial
house,
advice.
maybe 3 house now.
Yes.
The Chiefs signed a new left tackle. We got Jalen Moore for 2 years, $30 million, which is fine. Again, Nick Bolton money. When we signed Nick Bolton, I was like, it was literally like the same day because we signed Nick Bolton at like 8 a.m. and I was like, damn it. That's the kind of money that I would have rather paid a left tackle to be fine for us. And then they immediately later that day signed a left tackle for $15 million a year. And I'm like, that's all right, fair enough. And then we got Elijah Mitchell. That's nothing. We got Christian Fulton for 2 years, $20 million, a cornerback from the Chargers. Not a bad pick. And then we also we grabbed Gardner Minshew Mania, running wild in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And Bailey Zappi. Both, like, honestly, we talked about this on the show. Our backup quarterbacks the last, 2 years have been since Chad Henne has left, our backup quarterbacks have been awful. So I'm actually pretty happy that we grabbed a quality backup quarterback where it's like, if they come in, I know that they could probably be fine. Like, Carson Wentz was ass and Blaine Gabbert was mega ass. Actually, I think Carson Wentz was worse than Blaine Gabbert, but they were both hot doo-doo ass.
That last game of the season was doubly hard for me because I needed you guys to win that game.
Yes.
So watching him go out there and put up straight doo-doo ass against the Broncos, who admittedly are a good defense.
Yeah.
But like it was over before the first quarter was over, and I
Yeah.
watched my playoff hopes just blow up.
Well, it's because the Chiefs were scared of the Bengals anyway. So
That is what Twitter would have you believe. Yes.
oh my gosh.
Can we sit here and say that that would have been an awesome matchup though in the playoffs?
In the divisional round too, because we had the bye week, so
Oh,
you guys would have knocked off the Bills, and it's like, oh my god, it's happening again. And then you guys come to Arrowhead, it's like, oh shit, dog. T. Higgins is probably maybe healthy enough to play. It's like, oh shit.
well, we definitely load managed him towards the end of the year
Mm-hmm.
to be able to play for the playoffs because even through our last game, it was mathematically possible to get in.
Yeah, right.
But it is what it is. You can't keep fucking up the first 6 weeks of the year and expect different results. So
The Chiefs did have a couple non-signings, as I'd call them. We had a couple players walk. Samaje Perine went to Cincy, obviously. Justin Watson left for the Texans. Turk Wharton, that one hurt. That was a underrated player who got paid 3 years, $54 million to go to the Panthers, and it's like, oh damn, yeah, no, we could not afford to pay him $18 million a year, but I'm glad he got that. Justin Reed left to go to the Saints. That's one of those where it was like a kind of another Joe Tooney situation where you're like, listen, dude, we just can't pay you anymore, and you know that, and we have a young guy. We can't do this. DeAndre Hopkins left to go to the Ravens. McCole Hardman, another one of those where you just go, all right. McCole Hardman left to go to Green Bay. Carson Wentz went to Cleveland. And Derek Nottie, another defensive tackle for us, left to go to the Jets. And Joshua Uche went to the Eagles, which is a weird one because we traded like a 5th or 6th round pick for him. And everybody was like, this guy's going to be awesome. He's young. And we never played him. And nobody could ever figure out why. And so now he's on the Eagles. So I assume he'll go crazy next year because that's what people on the Eagles do.
Yeah, defensive player of the year for sure.
Yeah. Did you guys let anybody walk that's like, you're like, damn. Other than, it should have been T. Higgins that you let walk, but do you have anybody else that you're... I mean,
you will not gaslight me into changing my opinion on this. The answer
Hubbard
to that
retired.
is no. No, because everyone who left was mediocre at best and horrible at worst. I did forget to mention earlier, this has got lost in the sauce, but BJ Hill we signed to a 3-year contract. That's a mixed bag of emotions for me because BJ Hill is really good, but he is very injury prone. So
right.
I think he got hurt in the first game against the Patriots last year and was out for the whole year.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Close to the whole year. I think he came back for the last 2 games maybe, and it was a night and day, like halfback dive play stopper. So that was just another just unfortunate reality of football that sometimes the wrong people get hurt. Right. And I hope he stays healthy. I hope he's productive. There's not a better defensive tackle alternative out there. He's already familiar with the team, so happy to have him. But yeah, that was the only other multi-year, I would say, significant signing that I forgot to mention the first time.
Gotcha. But you guys didn't really lose anybody that you're losing sleep over.
Nope, not at all.
I would say, yeah, out of all the people we lost, the only one that hurt was losing Tershawn Wharton, but seeing the 3 years, $54 million, it was like, yeah, that was a deal we could not do. So I'm glad he got that deal.
Champagne problems.
Yes, champagne problems, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So now comes the big money. We need a verdict. Do you think the Bengals have had a better offseason than the Chiefs?
No, I do not. The Bengals offseason is a offseason of extremes.
Yes.
I will say it is an offseason of a culture change, which in and of itself is worth the same as a Super Bowl to me. Because listen, I've come on this show for years saying this is T. Higgins last year. This is T. Higgins last year. We don't re-sign our stars. We don't do any guaranteed money. No free agents want to come here for that reason. Yeah. The Bengals are just the AFC Cardinals. All of that is true up until this offseason. We have guaranteed money outside of signing. We have put serious investment into winning, like genuinely for the first time outside of a quarterback. And just the culture shift that Joe era has provided has made me more proud to be a fan, even though we still do have a terrible owner overall.
Right.
But as far as the contracts and the ebb and flow of like how the teams are going, I think the Chiefs don't have as high of a high as we do, but the net is significantly better than the Bengals. You cut the fat with the trade for the Bears. Maybe cut the fat's not the right expression, but you got value out of something like that.
Right.
You are still primed for success. I will say, looking at the sports or SPO track right now, I'm surprised they haven't redone Travis Kelce at all because he's still a huge cap hit as a negative.
So he was like a deal where we decided to pay him. We hadn't been paying him. And it's like, hey, we know you probably only have 3 or 4 years left. Let's finally pay you. And so that's, I think they're like, we're paying you, we're getting this done. And then, you don't want to keep rolling that money over and it hurts your cap in the future. It's like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. And this is probably Travis's last year. I think he said even like, this is probably a one more year run it back. Let's see what happens kind of thing. And then he's probably done. So it's like, I think a lot of that is to just say, hey, we don't want it to keep going over. And we decided to finally pay Travis like he was the best tight end in the league. So,
yeah, I would say as great as Jamar and T as the highlight for the Bengals are concerned, re-signing Cody Ford is equally as intense, as good as the wide receivers are in my
as
estimation.
intensely bad.
So that is yes. That it really broke my heart when that happened. Like very genuinely.
right.
And he on top of that, his ex-wife is also like a TikTok influencer that used to be married to him, and he just doesn't seem like he has it all put together based on what got leaked on the internet. So I don't even like pull for him. Like not only are you ass, but I am not rooting for you in life.
I think I know who that guy is now that you said it. What's his
Yes.
name?
Cody Ford.
Yeah, is he the one where the like girl's like in the stands and she's like, "Why does he always look mad at me?" And
Yes.
it's like, "Can you get that confetti for me?" She's like, "I don't want it. I just want to make him." Yeah, I saw that.
Yep.
That's ex-wife. They broke up.
They got divorced, yes.
Oh, jeez. And stuff
Yeah.
came out from that was like not great.
Well, she was posting stuff the entire time through their whole marriage. She was trying to trampoline her husband's. This is maybe a little overly mean, but she was trying to trampoline her husband's NFL career into her own personal vlog success.
Like
And
was it Isaiah Rochelle where his wife is where he was always just like a fine NFL player, but his wife got really popular on TikTok.
yes, she is great.
Yeah.
Trying to repeat that model.
Right.
But she is very charismatic, and Isaiah Rochelle, as far as looks are concerned, is a really stand-up dude that people can find endearing. Cody and his wife just
It
did
felt like an
not.
odd dynamic. It felt like a dynamic I've seen where I'm like, I don't know if that's would be the people I'd want to hang out with.
And he's on the Bengals for 2 more years.
Nice, good. Yeah, the Chiefs. I saw like somebody like Bleacher Report maybe gave us like a B+ or a B-, and a B- feels about right. Where it's like, this has been a very fine. Where it's like, okay, we don't need anything right now, but we're in a good. We've put ourselves in a good enough spot that we can use this draft to get a lot better and younger for the future. But it all kind of comes down to the draft for us, I think.
I genuinely don't know. Maybe you can refresh my memory, and maybe I forgot something. But nothing immediately comes to mind that since the offseason has started that I have felt that any of the tides of fortune have changed for any of the 32 teams. I feel like if you ran back the season pre-draft right now, it'd probably end the exact same way with all the free agent changes.
I think the Steelers have gotten a little worse just because they don't have a quarterback. But you know how that goes.
Yeah,
They're gonna get to 9-8. They're gonna make the playoffs. Mike Tomlin's going to figure out a way to get there. It doesn't matter who plays quarterback. It could be you. You're going to get signed. Me, I'm going to get signed. One of us is going to get signed, and somehow Mike Tomlin's going to drag our white pasty ass to be 9-8 for whatever reason.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, since you brought it up, I love the Dunosi punishment. It lit my world up on my commute. Loved every second.
Uh-huh.
That was the toe dip of the blasphemy of Owen and yourself, because you also picked the Steelers under 500 in the past.
I had.
Here, I would like to propose something to you, especially because Owen's not here, because I can feel it through the ether while he's in Spain that he's rubbing his little gremlin hands together, and he's going to do it again in the next AFC North preview.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They don't have a quarterback. Mason Rudolph sucks. Mason Rudolph also led them to 9-8 a bunch of times, but we're going to skip that point for now.
George Pickens and DK Metcalf are going to be fighting cornerbacks on the sidelines. What's going to happen? Yeah.
If he picks the Steelers under 500 again, I want to rally your support and chat support and YouTube chatters support and all of the different ways you can listen to podcasts support.
Yep.
As a bet between me and Owen, that if he picks them under 500 again, and they finish above 500, whatever their final record is, he has to get tattooed on himself.
I would.
As big or small as he wants. And I will accept the antithesis of that. If he picks them under 500 and they actually go under 500, I will also accept whatever their record is and just a little tiny spot $50 tattoo. And see how...
I think there's even like a scenario where you said the draft is in Pittsburgh next year. I think you could do something.
Oh yeah.
Wear the Dunussi cap in Pittsburgh with a shirt that says I picked Mike Tomlin to go under 500, and I'm a big Dunussi or whatever. I'm a big Dunce or whatever.
The TikToks would go crazy.
Yes, where it's or make them wear that shirt, and it's like it's like put it on it where it's like anybody who can come up and tell me the last year Mike Tomlin went under 500, I'll take a shot. And it's like he has to walk around the draft, and everybody has to come up and be like 2008, and it's like no, and he has to take a shot.
I think there's real legs to this.
I think we can work something out. We'll have you back on shit talk Josh Allen and work through what Owen's gonna have to do.
Cycle the gears, keep me in the group chats. I think there's something to it because I just sense that he's gonna do it again because it's so tempting. The cheese is on the trap for him right now. He shoved his fingers in it last year.
Yep.
This time, I think he's going to put something more phallic in there.
Me and Owen are little rat boys. Can't resist a little cheese,
A little cheddar cheese.
A little cheddar cheese. All right. So, yeah, I think we both agreed that the Chiefs have probably had a better, if not lackluster, postseason, or offseason. The Bengals have made big splashes, bad and good, but probably the Chiefs net out. Like, the Bengals are probably getting like a C+ or C-, and the Chiefs are like B-, I think.
I would agree with that assessment totally. The good and the bad are so extreme, the Bengals, that the real victory is the cultural shift for me.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Real quick, let's do top 5 sports to bet on. You tried to lead me in with a nice segue earlier, and I'm allergic to them. I can't do good segues.
I tried. I really did.
Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Top 5 sports to bet on.
Yes.
Definitely Russian table tennis during COVID.
Okay. That's your number 5. That's where you're putting that one?
Yep. That was literally the only sport for like 4 weeks in West Virginia. So my friends and I in the group chat were literally doing like statistical spreads on Russian table tennis during COVID. It's a memory I will never let go of.
I watched John Oliver a lot. He has Last Week Tonight on HBO. It's on Max. It's really great if you're, a certain, I guess, political affiliation. I would recommend it for you. But
I've already watched the segment.
Yeah, but he talked about they had sports betting as like normally he talks about like bummer things in the U.S. and he talked about sports betting and they talk about how people are how these apps like prey on like especially the whales and like push them money to keep betting. And but one of them where he's like the top 5 sports that young people bet. One of them is Taiwanese table tennis or whatever because they're like it's always on, or they're like it was like one kid who said was betting like $5 million on table tennis because it was always on. So just hearing Russian table tennis as your number 5 is just reminding me. I'm like, yeah,
It's
that's true.
electric, dude. You should try it.
That's true degenerate shit. Oh, I've got one on my list here that's true degenerate stuff. But okay, so that's your number 5. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is gonna be the. I'm just gonna generalize the Olympics,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
Olympic medal betting.
Mm-hmm. I like that one. A lot to bet on in the Olympics for sure.
Sorry,
That's
especially like niche
and
ones that are
and there's
out there.
always something on.
We are salivating.
Oh, and you can just imagine there's always something like that's just about to get pushed, or it's like, sweet, this is over. All right, now we've got sailing next. Wow, who's the big sailors? And you're like, Spain's got to be a big sailor. They're right on the ocean. That's perfect. Let's go them.
Did you ever watch House MD growing up?
Yes, I've watched a little bit of House, not a ton, but I did watch some. Yeah.
So one of my favorite episodes, it was my first introduction to sports betting, where he is at the racetracks betting on horses, and he bets who wins by whoever throws up the most and like has the signs of eating disorders on their face to be the lightest, and he just keeps hitting over and over. And uh like when when you just have an in for a sports bet, even if it's totally fictitious or a placebo effect, there's nothing better. There's no dopamine hit better than when that one cashes.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, number 3 for you.
I am a sucker for betting on the horse racing in my hometown casino for Charlestown races and slots. Should you find yourself on the East Coast, the local horse and greyhound circuit has the entire strata of social class in attendance. So watching people IRL who are wearing $100,000 suits and people who rolled out of their trailer that day smoking cigs stand next to each other and argue is a cultural experience that you just cannot live your life without.
Hell yeah. We're gonna go, I think, to Nebraska horse racing this year. That's been on the list. Hopefully we'll be able to get it done, and I think we're gonna have the same sort of event there.
Yeah, you can't go to these fancy Kentucky Derby ones with all the fancy suits. You have to get all the social strata interacting with each other and
Yeah.
just screaming at the jockeys.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's your number 3. Number 2.
College basketball,
Mm-hmm.
a little NCAA tournament gambling. I didn't do any this year because we didn't get together for it because of our work schedule. But if you could get together with the boys and girls or whoever your gambling group is for the round of 64 and 32 weekend for just degenerate gambling, it's an elite experience.
Yeah. Me and my dad are like extreme, obviously my dad's a sports handicapper. I'm very math forward, analytical guy. He's very math forward, analytical guy. So there was a time I think it was maybe during COVID. It was COVID-ish, like March 2021, where it's like basketball was being played, but only kind of, and like in New Mexico, nobody was going out, and my parents were being safe and not going out. But we had like a sports database that we had access to that you could just write these insane queries into, where it's like, if it's a Tuesday and it's raining and it's done this, what's the odds that the favorite wins and all this stuff. But we had found something where it said like 87% of college basketball games don't finish like it's like or it was like 50 or it was a 60% finish within 10 points of the starting line, and like 90% finish within 20 points of the starting total line. So we would
Seems right.
we would sit there. We created these Excel sheets. It would sit there and watch live lines on basketball games where we would watch the totals drop. We had also a betting software where we could watch all of the live games for like the 60 games that were being played at once and watch the totals drift in and out. And we go, wait, okay, that one's at 104. It started at 120. We need to pound this one right now. And it's like, and so we sat there. It would spend like we did this for like 10 or 12 hours straight, like from like 11 to 11.
Don't
And
tell me with a good time, Truman.
yeah, I know. And we'd bet 20 to 25 games and come out 14 and 11 or 15 and 10. But that's that edge.
Profit City.
That's yes, right. That's that profit edge that it's repeatable. And so we would sit there and do that and just grind it out. So I mean, college basketball is one of those sports. There's always more college basketball being played, and it's so fun. It's just at all levels of it. So I definitely agree. College basketball.
I also want to throw in, again, I didn't do any gambling on it this year, but I do highly recommend it. Big financial advice. Parlay the top seeds in the women's tournament together. I've never had that not cash in the early rounds. You can get it down to like minus 200 plus 100 for the top like 8 overall seeds to win the first round because there's way less upsets in the women's tournament. Like
Yes.
that's just a money printer.
I know. I picked the 3 seed to come out and beat Texas. I picked Notre Dame to come out of that this year, and I was like, stupid, so stupid. What was I thinking? And then, but I've got 1 seed UCLA beating 1 seed South Carolina in the championship. I'm like, perfect. That's money. And both those teams are on to the Final Four already, so hopefully they get it done for me.
I think Notre Dame beat UConn to go to the championship game, right?
No, Notre Dame lost to TCU. TCU just lost to Texas.
My algorithm might just be messed up from a previous year then.
Yeah. UConn is beating USC right now. They're about to go to the Final Four. They're up 66-51, which everybody's
Ooh.
expecting UConn to win that game because Juju Watkins was out. Once Juju Watkins was out, it was like, okay, well, they're not going to the Final Four anymore. Also, Paige Beckers is just a fucking animal. I watched her decimate Oklahoma on Saturday. She scored more points in the second half than the Oklahoma team scored, and just could not miss.
Can I offer a off-season prompt for you guys? Because there's no way we can fit it in tonight.
Sure.
I would love for you to have Allison on the show and to talk about the state of women's athletics in America and like how explosive it's been.
Sure.
Over the last couple of years, especially women's basketball.
Especially the basketball team. The more the men shoot threes and don't dunk as much, which is simply how the game is being played right now. It's not being played through the bigs like it used to be. It becomes more and more like the women's game. The women we were flipping all weekend this weekend. We were down at the lake and we were just watching basketball all day, just flipping between women's basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball. It's the same. It feels the same nowadays. It's just not. They're all running. It feels like the same kind of offense, the same kind of plays. It's just
hyper efficient, min-maxed 3-point shooting. Yeah.
Yes, and the WNBA feels more and more like the NBA. It's absolutely feels like that.
I think you can definitely put an hour and a half together. Would be a good show.
Yeah.
If Allison would do it, obviously. Obviously, she's not as big a fan of the show as I am, but
Well, and I've got a friend in Kansas City here who plays for the Kansas City women's football team, so that'd be a good one to have on.
Oh yeah. You think she'd do a live guess?
A lot. Oh, I don't know if I want to bring. I don't know how many people I want to bring into the murder basement. I need to clean up the murder basement a little bit more.
Well, definitely do it before the Bengals win the Super Bowl because it's going to be pretty sticky down there.
Yeah. It's like I don't know how many outside guests, outside of people that I know directly in my life every day, that I'm like, okay, you can see this basement in the state that it's in. Maybe that's an off-season upgrades for me down here for sure.
I think it'd be a great way to grow the brand is to have her teammates watch the episode, have her on.
Yeah, that's very fair. Okay, and your number one sport?
NFL playoff football
Oh yeah.
specifically. I always go the craziest for that. The dramatic tension so high anyway, and then to have money on it as well
Yeah.
is just sheer euphoria.
Mhm.
Or if you miss, the emotional weight of what happened in the discourse carries you through anyway. It's a stop loss for how bad you can feel about betting,
Yeah. 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 Well,
in my opinion.
and by the time you hit the playoffs, I feel you just know it's if you've been tuned in and you're tuned in like I'm tuned in. I know that it's just it's red zone all day. It feels like, and you've seen so many of these teams play and play each other. It's like I'm pretty sure I know exactly. Like that's as we sat here on Dom. That's true. At the beginning of the playoffs, I locked in and I was like, oh, it's gonna be Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl. That just makes sense. Like that's how this lines up. That's how this path works. And boom, that's exactly what happened. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was expecting. I bet that secondary won. I know I had the Packers Chiefs at the beginning of the season, but by the time I could see everybody, I was like, oh, I think it's gonna be Chiefs Eagles again. That just makes sense. And bada bing, bada boom, there we were. And so I thought the Chiefs were gonna win, but yeah, NFL playoff football is just so nice because you know where everybody is.
Yeah, you have enough data sets to at least think you have an educated opinion, and then the sports books juice it up to negative 10,000 on everything. But we bet it big anyway because you're about to be without football for 3/4 of the year. So
Yeah.
bet your mortgage. Birthday bets, man.
Birthday bets.
My
Absolutely.
favorite bets of all time. The Saquon not scoring and white guy Bia Cooper DeJean scoring was such a knife twist in my heart because they were both birthday bets.
Uh-huh.
So my birthday bet theory still proved true, but it wasn't the one I picked, so I still lost $500.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like, if you look at Saquon's stats from the Super Bowl, also Saquon Barkley's like what I realized because of his birthday being that day. He's 3 years younger than I am, which makes me feel like, oh, a big piece of shit, dude. Oh, I feel
Yep.
like a huge piece of shit.
I'm older than you, and it gets worse as you go.
I
Like
remember
they had,
it was like 2 years ago. It was half the quarterbacks in the divisional round were younger than I was, and I was like, I'm gonna be sick. I'm gonna fucking throw up, dude.
every year it feels even worse. There's a social media team that was interviewing incoming freshmen for, I want to say, Nebraska's football team this year that made its way into my algorithm, and they were like, what is this? And we're handing them pieces of technology. Truman and other listeners, they handed this 18-year-old an iPod Nano, and he said, "What is this? Dinosaur technology?" That sent an arrow through my heart. That did me in.
Ugh. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's true. Like they were maybe infants when that came out, or older toddlers.
Yeah. I mean, what they're 18, so it was uh 2007.
Yeah, I think that timeline.
God.
I think that timeline's right.
Yeah,
But
I'm
to
not even sure
the
the
idea
nano.
that a college freshman could look at an iPod Nano and just mean nothing to me when my entire middle school life revolved around people having that,
Yeah. Well,
just it killed me.
my middle school life was like the iPod Touch. So like the fact like you could hand them an iPod Touch and they'd be like, "What the like people did shit with this? How did you do?" It was like, dude, it felt like everything to have an iPod Touch. You could do you had an app. You could do beers. You could drink beers like this on the app. You know.
The lightsaber app was my whole life at Bible study.
Yeah. 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 Gosh. Okay.
But yeah,
So
we're old. Athletes are athletic. We're pieces of shit.
running
It is
back
what it
your
is.
so your
Ooh,
your
sorry.
five
I
was
meant to
Russell.
ask. Are you doing a fitness thing for your wedding? Is there like a goal in mind? I asked because it transitions to what we're talk about next.
We need to. I need to. Yeah, we are working out. We try to get up and work out like 4 times a week, but it's been a little bit not as great as of late, but we need to get back on the horse.
Okay. Hannah and I did not do that for our wedding just because the way our wedding was structured, we knew that it wasn't possible to accomplish what we wanted and do all that too. I've had several friends now that I am turning 30 this year who have gotten married and have given me this advice. If you do that, like if you are purging weight just for your wedding day, avoid salt right before the wedding from stress eating because even though you lose the weight, you'll retain all the water
Mm-hmm.
because you've been dieting so much and it won't ruin the pictures, but like
Yeah.
all of the effort you put in for the wedding pictures, it cheapens what you've done. So just keep your salt intake in mind, like 48 hours before the wedding photos are
Interesting.
in. Now, after the wedding photos are done, just gorge, dude.
Salt it up.
Salt it up. Start eating. Just don't get it on yourself. You know, wedding's a
I'm
long
more of
time.
a pepper guy, anyways. Honestly,
Pepper guy, anyway. Well, there you go.
big pepper guy. All right. So your number 5, Russian table tennis. Number 4 was the Olympics. Number 3 was your hometown races. Sing the song, doo dah, doo dah. Number
You
2
got
was
it.
college basketball, and number 1 was NFL playoffs.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. I'll run through my 5. I'll make it pretty quick. Honorable mention. This holds a special place on the podcast. New Zealand women's rugby. There was a time that one of our friends came in from out of town and he was at the bar with Owen and they're like, dude, just come out to the bar, like the bar that's like 10 minutes from my place and like pretty close to Owen's. He's like, they just come out to the bar that we always hang out at. Let's watch, just come have some beers. And we were drinking beers and the New Zealand women's rugby championship cup was on. And we placed a bet on this team to rally and come back and like cash the over. And they scored with like 3 seconds left and then got the kick also to win it and like hit the over. And we just went ballistic. We only made like $35 or, we put $10 down to win like 35 or whatever. But
Doesn't matter. It's all about the odds, baby.
yeah, exactly.
Cash.
Right.
Greened out.
Yep. So that New Zealand women's rugby always holds a special place in my heart. So that's my honorable mention. Number 5, I'm putting the MLB here. And I'm only putting this in because you can just rapid fire bets. You can bet on the next pitch. You can bet on this player to get a hit, that player to be out. There's always, you can just stay engaged with it, which is really
Okay.
nice. Number 4, almost the same vein, is where I put the NHL, specifically in a state that also has legalized gambling. I've gone to a couple like NHL games where you can bet on things while you're there, and it just feels electric when the team scores. And you're just like, yes. Like I was watching the Islanders played the Blackhawks in Chicago, and I went with Tina's brother-in-law, and we we were betting on this game, and the Islanders were up 1 with like 10 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, I've seen this script, and I was like, they'll allow a score, or it was like 3 minutes left. I was like, they'll allow a score, we'll go to overtime, and the Islanders will lose. And so I bet like the Blackhawks over total because it was like one more goal, and I was like, boom, that hit. I was like, bet it to go to overtime, boom, that hit. And then once we got to overtime, I bet the Chicago Blackhawks money line, and that hit. I'm like, bada bing, bada boom. It's just like I made, the tickets cost me $50, and I think I made $70 just sitting there, just because I'm like, oh, I know that the Islanders are gonna fucking break my heart, so that'll be perfect.
Oh, the pay for the ticket bet? Oh, that's one of the best bets to win.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Number 3, this is where I put college football bowl season. I mean, just so many games against, there now that players sit out as much as they do, it's become a little bit worse, I would say. But it used to be, I mean, it still is, but it used to be a lot better, but I mean, just to have fairly meaningful football when it's teams that just don't make any sense. Why is Louisiana Tech playing North Carolina? I don't know, but they're also in a bowl that's named after a lawnmower in the middle of Florida, and it's fucking 95 degrees in December, and nobody wants to be there, and it's going to be a shitty 35-32 game, and I'm praying for the over. And that's just, I love college football bowl season just for all that nonsense that happens. That's my favorite. So that's right. I put college football bowl season. College basketball is my number 2 as well, just because it's, March Madness especially, but always games to bet on. Just teams, watching K-State betting the race to 10, the race to 20. We used to just sit there, rattle off bets like that. The little things do that with my dad will always be kind of a fun memory, as as weird, as messed up a father-son bonding time as that is, that's
As being a professional sports handicapper, that sounds like poetic justice to me.
right. It explains so much about me and my dad's relationship, is that we were like, what a day well spent. Like, this
It's
will be
basically the same as a Super Bowl winning quarterback putting their kid on their shoulders as the confetti falls down. I'm getting the exact same level of emotional impact and vibe based on your description.
watching me and my dad just hunch over the computer for 12 hours and just be like, wait, where did this line start? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Except you want a lot more money doing that.
Right. The Super Bowl the Super Bowl MVP putting the kid on the shoulders. Yeah, for sure. Maybe just a little bit more. And number
How
number
much you
1
guys
and
bet, I'm sure.
number 1, the NFL for sure. I mean, it's just the king, and I feel like I always know. I feel like I have the most knowledge. I'm an NFL fan first. We talk about this a lot. A lot of our friends are K-State fans first, and me and Owen typically feel like we are Chiefs fans first and then K-State fans second, And so I'm always much more tuned into the NFL, and I have like my NFL algorithm that I'm always testing every year and doing all that stuff. So it keeps me. NFL has always been my favorite thing to bet on. So that's my number 1 for me.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against just because, again, there's a stop loss for your emotions betting on the NFL because even if you lose, there's conversation and story that goes into it because you put money on it for a reason.
Right.
So put it in your gambling group chat, put it on Twitter. Like there is always a net emotional swing other than the money for the NFL for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah.
It's an
So
entertainment fun. It's not a habit.
So my honorable mention: New Zealand women's rugby. Number 5, MLB. Number 4, NHL. Number 3, college basketball. Number 3, college football bowl season. Number 2, college basketball, and number 1, the NFL, just in general. But like you were saying, the NFL playoffs, especially wild card weekend, man. That's a great time to be there. Oh God. It's funny. Okay, so for the audio viewers at home, you guys won't get to see this. So on the stream, it was harder to do when I used to sit at my computer, but we have things you can reward for viewer points, and Toes is on there. Logan just cashed in for Toes for all the YouTube. The YouTube listeners really get to soak that in. The visual listeners really get to soak in the Toes on stream, but so I just
I will
flashed them just for everybody here.
say, if you're tuning in on Twitch, which is my second most favorite way to watch/listen to Dahm, that's true. These two are the worst at cashing in the channel points that I cash in. I get straight up denied 90% of the time. And the last time I tried to cash in Toes, Owen poo-pooed it. So I was trying to see if Truman, without Owen naysayer Dom ruining my life, if he would do it on his own, and as the true host that he is, came through. So
That's
I think we can really learn from this is that the show has been drastically improved with me as the host and not Owen for encouraging fun and positivity and not just hating on people with darker skin than us.
That's got to be racist.
I would, and now, and so for the long time, you would also cash in like the cat treat one, and I never had cat treats down here. Now I do have cat treats down here, but now the cats are probably snug in bed. So I'm asking you not to cash that in right now, but in the future, should be able to cash it in, no problem.
I'll be dialed in. And should anyone listening to this want to tune in to anything I have going, we also have a cat and dog treat channel points in our chat at Hannah Learns to Read at Twitch. If you're free and want to watch some Marvel's Rivals gameplay, or we also just started up. I'm immediately blanking on the title of the game, but it's a game about being a medieval knight, and it's really fun so far.
Is it Chivalry or is it like?
It's not Chivalry. It just came out. It is.
Okay.
Nope. I had it in my mind, and I went to say it, and it's gone now.
Because I played Chivalry for a
something
bit,
too.
and then I stopped playing it. Like right when it came out, I played it, and then I bought it and just haven't played it like in 3 years, probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, the to play list is quite long for myself as well.
Yeah. So, but yes, twitch.tv/Hannah Learns to Read. Logan, I do appreciate you coming on. Twitter.com/WestVA Ninja, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That is a reference to the greatest YouTube video of all time. If you haven't seen it, check that out as well.
There you go. Twitter.com/Steam Machine for me. Patreon.com/HomeDisaster. All the patrons over there: Skylar, Dylan, Aaron, Ozzy, Joe, Mailbox King of City, open now in the Iron District. Make sure you like, commenting, subscribing. Comment what Owen is eating in Spain right now. I think that's it. Twitch.
Yeah.
Twitch.tv.
I think we nailed it.
Twitter.com/Steam Machine.
Best episode yet.
That's right. That's right. Twitter.com/WestVA Ninja. Twitch.tv/Hannah Learns to Read. Logan, appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey, thank you.
But we will see you guys next week. Owen will sadly be back. But hopefully about like some gazpacho or something. That's what I want.
Spanish wine.
100%.